Did you ever do juniors in Erie?
No, but that was a clean club, right?
That was a clean club.
Never.
So
I tried to. That was like on my. I had a list of clubs I would hit up, and they never got back to me.
So I first worked it as a feature.
Yeah.
And I remember my agent at the time was like, "All right, you got it. You know, whatever. It's like $100 a show. You got to work clean." And I'm like, he's like, "You can do that, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's like 20 minutes. I'm like, "Yeah." So I make it like almost like a challenge. And you're trying to like tweak words and, oh, don't do this bit, do that bit.
Just destroying your set.
Dude, yeah. And like as you arrive, by the way, like they pick you up from the airport. They're like, "Hey, it's clean, right?" And you're like, "Yeah, my agent told me." And then they like drop you off at the hotel and they're like, "Don't forget, it's a clean set." And you're like, "I got it." And then they pick you up and they're like, "Don't forget, you got to work clean." I'm like, "What the fuck? How many times are you going to say this?" And then, you first set, you do it and you're like,
the headline is Tracy Morgan, by the way.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I got through it and they were like, "All right, and like you did that, you're able to work clean." And I was like, "Hey, I don't recognize," this is at the time, I'm just middling. I'm like, "I don't recognize anybody on your upcoming acts, I was like, "Why don't you get like some of the New York guys?" And they're like who? And I started to list people, like Geraldo and Attell and like just like all the guys that I know from New York. I'm like, and she was like, "Are they clean?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, "Oh, then I don't want them." And I was like, "Okay." So fast forward a couple years, now you're just trying to get the work you can get.
Yeah.
And I get the offer to go back there, and he's like, "Well, you'd have to do like 45 to an hour clean. You think you can do that?" And I again look at it like as a challenge, and I'm like, "Okay, like book it." So I get there and they're like, "All right, don't forget, you gotta be," I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's very clear. I know." So at one point, like after one of the shows, I get off stage and the lady's like, she's like, "Oh, the owner wants to see you in her office." I'm like, "What's up?" She's like, "Did you say penis?" And I go, "What?" She's like, "Did you say penis on stage?" And I go, "Yeah." I go, "How do you know that?" She's like, "Well, somebody told me." So she had like staff tattletaling, and I go,
"She has fucking snitches in there."
I go, "Penis is the anatomically correct term." She was like, "Fine." Like she let it go, and I'm like, "All right." And then I'm sitting there with the other guy that works there, and I'm like, "Hey man, what is with the degree that you guys are doing this to, And he's like, "It's just what she likes. It's what she likes, and it's just important to her, And then he tells me like a straight up street joke with the N-word in it. And I'm like,
"Oh my God."
I'm like, "Very cool. Does this work on stage?" and I ask him, I'm like, "Have you ever had this somebody not be able, like, have you ever had to like fire someone?" He's like, "Oh yeah, what's that guy? JB Smoove?"
Oh.
And I go, "What happened?" He goes, "Well, we told him. And he was like, yeah, I get it. And like, and like they go through the whole thing, you know how to do it, right? He's like, "I know how to do it." He goes like 2 minutes in, he's like, "Motherfucker this, motherfucker that, motherfucker this." So he gets off stage and we're like, what the hell? And he's like, "What?" And they go, "We said clean." He goes, "How am I supposed to work, man?" And they were just like, "Get out of here." They fired him.
And the crowd is clearly hungry for like one curse. They could
just
give a fuck.
Yeah, they don't give a fuck. It's just like, it was her mission to make it. You know what I mean? Like a personal mission.
I never got that. We've all done those like corporate gigs too. We'd like to like be clean.
Yeah.
And you're like, "I got this." Yeah. And then a minute in, you're like bombing. You're like, "Fuck it. I'm doing my titty fuck chunk. Let's do this."
Yeah. I was titty fucking at a football game.
I had that happen the other night on stage. I'm at the Cellar and a woman, I did a bit about going down on a woman. It wasn't even like a dirty version. It was like a pretty clean version of that. And she stood up like, "This is fucking disgusting." And I was like, "I didn't actually do it in front of you. It's a joke. I'm not just saying I ate a pussy." And she and her husband get up and give me the finger. And this is the best part, is the husband tries to pull his pants down to moon me as they're getting kicked out. I'm like, you called my joke disgusting. You're trying to show me your old bare ass.
Yeah.
They were like in their 60s.
What?
Yeah, it was pretty gross.
Just for doing this bit?
They were yellow skin. I mean like tan from the sun, not Asian. I don't mean like that was, you know what I meant.
They're ill. They're actually sick. Yeah.
Like cirrhosis.
They're dying. Yeah.
But they were fucking trash bags. It was, it's amazing. It's amazing the shit the inconsistency that, like, that guy telling you an N-word joke and then he's like, "You got to be clean
casually
on stage."
too. He wasn't like, I got something to He was like, hey, you want to hear a joke? I was like, okay. I was like, this is part of your make sure you stay clean speech? Cool.
Bert and Tom, Tom and Bert. One goes topless while the other wears a shirt. Tom tells stories and Bert's the machine. There's not a chance in hell that they'll keep it clean. Here's what we call 2 bears, 1 cave.